So I had a question recently from a World Drum Club member, and the question was, can you make a video about how to use a metronome or more ways to use a metronome? So this is what that is. So metronomes, of course, are any device that produces a steady beat or steady pulse. And there are mechanical metronomes. You've seen those with the back and forth ticking, or maybe you've seen one that's a black box and it has a wheel inside and you turn it to different numbers and it makes these clicking sounds. Most of the metronomes we have these days are either mechanical, or most of them actually are now they're apps. So they'll be on your smartphone or your tablet. I have a metronome on my smartphone for this and for just practicing. And since I have this metronome, I just use this one a lot because it's loud. And I can actually play drums to it and I don't drown it out. And it's got some really cool features. It's totally more of an analog experience too. It's got this giant dial. It's got sliders here, so I'll talk about these in a second. But basically, to use the metronome, the purpose of it is to have a reference click that you can refer to and practice to, or record your music to. Of course, studio musicians, whenever you make a record, you're listening to a click track. And for movies and TV shows, the click may change, but the purpose of the click in that setting is to keep everyone together, right? So everybody plays together to the click, and then you can piece together different recordings of different musicians, and it sounds like they're all playing together. So that's an advantage of having a click track. The click in our application is going to be more to help us develop our what we call rhythmic acuity, which is our ability to work with rhythm, to maintain the rhythm despite external forces that may want to pull us away from the rhythm, right? For example, if I'm playing with a group of people who are not experienced in drumming, there may be people playing all over the place, all different rhythms, all different sounds and patterns. And one of the skills of a percussionist or drummer is to be able to hold the beat and keep it steady, even though there's other things that are trying to kind of knock you off your horse, if you will. So we can set our metronome. This is 100 BPM, 100 beats per minute. And this metronome has a click on, right now it's set to have a different sound on beat 1. And then there's 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So one of the things I like to do, this is kind of a game, like a metronome game that I just started doing on my own. And I call it avoiding the 1, right? So what I do, the rule I make for myself is that I listen to the metronome and I play anything I want, but not on 1. And the reason I do that is not only do I connect with the sound, I have to really attend to what's happening in the metronome. I have to listen to it. I have to keep track of not only the pulse, but also the phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? A 4-beat phrase. Or it could be 3 or 5 or 7, it doesn't matter. But we'll do 4 because that's the most common. So every first beat of 4, where that click is a little bit higher, I don't play anything. But I see how close I can get, and I see how complicated I can get and still not land on the 1. So that's the kind of game that I do just for fun. So here's what that would sound like, and I'll just vocalize right now because I'm holding this up and I don't want to play with one hand. Okay, so here's what that would look like. Got that ding ga da ga digga digga ba ba da boom ba da ba ding digga da da do doom ba ba boom ba 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 dee 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 ba 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 digga da digga da digga da down da ging da digga da da dum dum bra bam bra ba bra ba ba bra ba ba bra ba da da ga da ga da ga da ga da ga da ga da da doom 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 da da ga da ga. All right, something like that. You can vocalize any sounds you want, by the way. I just make up sounds when I do that. So don't worry about doing the right sounds. There are certain schools, or you can learn certain codified systems like Solkatu, and that's great. But just don't worry about it. Have fun and make up your own sounds. So another feature of the, and by the way, playing to a slower tempo is generally going to be more challenging. So let's just look at another thing you can do with the metronome is to, instead of setting it at a tempo where it's fairly rapid, set it at something like 60 and see how well you can keep your beat, play a beat to that, and see how well you can stay aligned, because the more space that there is between the notes, you know, the more things that can happen in there, the more time you have to kind of get off the beat. And so playing to a really slow click is a great way to practice. You can vocalize da di di da di 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 cha ti ti boom boom chi dum boom chi chi dum ding ding ta ta ding 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 ta ding ding. Let's slow it down to 40. 40 is very slow. This helps you internalize. So in your mind, all right, something like that. I think you'll find that if you get below 50, it gets pretty challenging, especially if you're playing a drum that tends to drown out the metronome. Which, if you are playing a loud drum, this one has a headphone jack on it, and you could put on headphones. But I don't recommend playing with headphones on or earbuds unless you leave one ear open, and don't put the sound really loud. You don't want to blast your ears with a loud click sound, because that could cause hearing damage. But just put them over with one ear, or uncover them a little bit so it's partially on your ear, so you can hear the click, but you also can hear your instrument. All right, makes sense? All right, so let's look at another feature of this metronome, and this would fall into the training category. Let's go to 80 beats a minute. I like to use 80 for demonstrating a lot of rhythms, because it's slow enough for people to grasp the complexity, but it's fast enough so it doesn't sound, you know, lethargic and completely slow and out of context. So let's put it on 80 beats a minute. Now, something I like about this metronome, and I'll zoom in here for a second to show you guys this. Let's see. Is that it's got these over here. It's got lots of different settings that you can put in syncopated beats. Okay, so I'm going to change some of these, and we'll hear different subdivisions. So here's quarter notes. The first one is quarter note, and this is the accent slider. And I can raise this volume. Ding da, ding da, ding da, ding da. Or if I want to go with the 16ths, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Or both. So this comes in handy if you want to practice something that is in 16th notes or 8th notes, like a shaker, and you want to make sure that you're really aligning and really being precise. Or you want to work on your rolls, alternating, and you want to nail that and get it really precise. That's another thing that you can try. Do it with a metronome, maybe make a recording of yourself playing with the metronome with these clicks like this, and then you can see what you need to work on. This one also has triplets. Bop beep beep 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 bop beep beep. Now if you really want to experience something interesting, we can go down to a slow tempo, like 40, and then we can put on the triplets and the 8th notes. Ding, dun, ding, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we've got a polymetric pulse, polymeter, polyrhythmic. Ding, da, ding, da, ding, di, da, di, ding, 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 da, di, da, ding, da. Let's go for everything. Ding, da, ding, da. Ding da da ding da da ding da da ding da da. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Ding da. Ding ba da ding 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 digga 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 ding digga 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 ding down 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 d 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. How fun is that? So that's something you can do with a metronome. A lot of metronomes have this function where you can add in subdivisions and put it at a slow tempo, because if you put it up fast and you do that, like at 120, which is our common march or dance tempo, you could hurt your brain with that, all right? So be careful. And then this thing has lots of different settings where you can set up, with this particular metronome, we can set up different meters, which means you have different amounts of beats in a phrase, like 3 or 6. We can set up even a situation where it has a bar of 3 and a bar of 2 or something. So if you want to have a polymetric click. But that's getting way too fancy. And most of the time, I just set this up for a simple click, what we call a quarter note click, and just play a pulse. And then I practice to it. So that's all you really need to do to use the metronome. You know, get a metronome, get one that's loud, get one that has a few different functions. There's lots available. This is a really old one that I have. It's called the Dr. Beat DB88. There's newer ones than this, but this one is still out there. If you go on eBay or Amazon or somewhere, maybe Craigslist, you can still buy these. And I think it's great. It's a little workhorse. It's simple. It has the right features. You do need to use, well, you don't have to use the AC. I've got AC, but this one also takes batteries, of course. Still waiting for solar-powered metronomes. I think that's going to be the next big thing. All right. Thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for being a World Drum Club member. I'm Kalani, and I will see you guys in a future video.